And welcome back once again to the Community Live Lounge with me, Tim Möbest, and my new friend, Melanie Daveid, joining us from Austria. Is that right?
It is right. Hello, Tim. So good to see you.
Likewise. And today, this is the third session of the first takes from the community, and this is going to be all about illustration. So, which apps, or which app, more likely, will you be using today?
We will have a look at Adobe Fresco today. There have been so many news about it, and I'm so happy to finally show, the latest updates.
There we go. And as always, before we get started, we do have live chats because this is live. Unless you're watching the replay, in that case, thanks for watching. But if you're watching this live, join us on behance.net/live or on max.adobe.com or on YouTube. I will be watching all three chats and forwarding any questions over to Melanie. Now, should we just jump straight into Fresco?
That sounds very good. Let's switch over, and thank you for the very quick intro. 20 minutes, you did this in a high-speed manner. I have not heard anything that fast before. But let's have a look at Fresco. It's very, very, very aspirational to do a lot of things in this short time, but I'm very happy to show the news. We have basically, I would say, 3 to 4 new things on the list, which are really new, really the latest stuff that came up. Motion, of course, everyone has been waiting for it. So did I. Perspective grids, this is just incredible. I tried it all night long and had fun with it. So can't wait to show that. Of course, there's a new brush set for fall, which we will maybe just shortly see. And of course, new vector brushes, and you can now send vector files to Illustrator on the iPad right away, which is
crazy.
Pretty cool. Yes. So I hope you tried it too, Tim, already. I'm not sure if you had time.
I have it right here on my iPad. But the issue is I can't draw, so it's not me who's demonstrating today.
I wish you could. It would be a lot more fun. But maybe next time, as you mentioned before, we're usually live on Behance, so I'm sure we get the chance to have a little illustration session together. But let's start from a blank sheet here today. As you can see, pretty much the Fresco interface. You've seen the new things already on the right side of the interface, which is here, the animation panel. We have the grid panel up here, where you can activate guides. There's of course the graph grid. We know it already, but now it's even better, and you can have all kinds of adaptations to it, like the spacing, the opacity, grid color, and so on. But what I think is the most exciting are the perspective grids. And as always, there's not just one. There are 3 of them. You have a 1-point, 2-point, and 3-point grid. So anyone who's in illustration knows that this is pretty important. But still, it can be really overwhelming to have a lot of lines on a piece of paper. And that was pretty much my biggest or best moment when I tried it for the first time yesterday. Those grids do not just look nice, they're really helpful. Let's have a look. Let's start with the 2-point grid, 3-point grid.
All of them at the same time, please.
Yes,
and
I'm really having a hard time to decide.
If this is your first time using Fresco, in the chat, let us know. We'd love to hear, because I'm seeing one that already says, I've never used Fresco. I thought this was for Illustrator. Now I was going to learn something new. Yes, this will be great. Illustrator is coming up.
Well, too bad. I'm jumping ahead here. Usually I love the intro of what's all great in Fresco. But I will start with the perspective grids maybe for 5 minutes, and then I will do a little overview of the rest because I just like it so much that I will do it. Let's pick a very visible color, maybe red, one of my favorites, as you can imagine. We have a 3-point grid here, just to show the difference. 1-point grid, 2-point grid, and the 3-point grid here. The cool thing is you can, as always, adapt it, as I mentioned before already. Let's have a look.
And Luann, no, you're not missing anything. You're in the right place.
Well, we probably miss a lot because this is way too short to show everything. But
really,
you can't have it all, right? So as you can see, you can even edit the vanishing point, which means you can pretty much do anything with it. And this will help you to do all the crazy stuff with perspectives. To jump into illustration now, or at least the starting point with some sketches, you can have a drawing helper. This means, well, I will do it without first. Usually you're drawing lines a little crooked, which can be annoying because even if you have the guides and crooked lines, that's not so cool. Therefore, you can simply activate Snap to Grid Access for drawing. And this is pretty much one of the coolest things here, because it's really, really easy to draw perspective grids really fast. Since I'm looking at the screen here and it might be a little bit too overwhelming with all the lines, you can of course also change the density just with a little slider. Pretty cool if you ask me. And then you can draw along all kinds of lines here, and it's really cool to see how Fresco supports that. For the illustration today, we will have a look at the 3-point grid, and I will, as I will show you in a minute, set this up pretty simple, like this here. So what we're going to do is I will set this up for maybe 5 minutes, and then we'll have later on a little look at the illustration I prepared, because it's too short to go into detail here. But as you can see, we have now this little frame here, which should be the main focus of my illustration. I did it that way because I have one main element in the middle, and the rest of now I'm trying to adapt to your pace, which obviously does not work. Let me focus for a second.
Calm down. Breathe. In the meantime, I would just say, hi Rufus, thanks for joining. Great Max keynote earlier today.
It's so great to see all the familiar faces in the chat, and of course everyone who's new. Now I'm completely off. I have a blackout. What did I try to show, Tim? Do you remember?
You were in perspective grid, and you wanted to show some drawing helpers. I think you wanted to show how you can draw on the perspective with different colors in Fresco.
Very true. I think some were completely different, but things.
Great. This is live. That's how you know.
I will still use some of the little helpers here. As always, of course, you can have various elements that support you in drawing, for example, circles. And as you can see, they are amazingly also fitting the perspective grid, which can be a little surprising, as you've seen maybe right now, because they adapt.
Well, they stick to the grid. You can draw in perspective using those shapes. They're not limited to your normal perspective. Exactly. And that's fantastic.
But sometimes I simply don't want to, I just want to have a circle that's a circle.
Crazy.
And I want to have it here in the middle. And I will draw something like a little door, like a portal. And as you can see, you have two options here. First of all, you can place the little circle anywhere. Then you have here the perspective grid shifters. And you can also have two options. First one where you can drag the circle around, and the second one where you can draw around it. I will just use a very, 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 very heavy pencil so everyone can see it a little better. Then I switch back and move it around. Of course, there's not just geometric forms. There's also a ruler, which also adapts obviously to the perspective grids. I think it's something very well known from Illustrator, but now it also works in Fresco, which means working in Fresco will be even faster. And as I love to travel and move around or spend time outside, I can just use Fresco anywhere, which is pretty cool.
On the go.
On the go.
And of course, also on your Windows 10 device, if you don't, on an iPad or iPhone. There you go.
Thank you so much, Tim, for mentioning that, because I keep missing out on that. Thanks a lot.
Perhaps on the new Surface device? Who knows?
The
one that just came out? Maybe. And in the chat they're saying, I'm loving the perspective grid. Yes, Mario, that's right. Can't wait to play with grid. Tamika, absolutely. And Tim keeping everyone laid back. You're awesome. Oh, geez, thanks, Emma.
It's good to know that.
They are live right now. update your apps if you haven't already. Sorry, you wanted to say something.
No, all good.
Never mind.
I'm also trying to be laid back, which works pretty much fine-ish. But I have to say, I'm a little nervous today because of the time. Usually,
Well, that's fine. You still have about 15 minutes, and there are just 11,000 people watching. Not true. It's just 2 people, you and me, That's it.
Okay, yeah. I'm used to have live streams with you, Tim. There are always 11,000
always
people,
crazy,
so I'm used to that. No, not a single bit nervous today. Okay, so I set up the main framework for my illustration. Now, what I'm going to do is pretty obvious. I will write Adobe Max. It's just Max today, and I will go. Let's do this. Let's change because now I have this very nice grid with the very bold lines. I will just add another layer and now go a little crazy because I think it saves a bit of time. So I will use just another brush color to draw the little max in here. The center of the max, the A, should be a little portal where something happens with animation later on. Depending on how fast we are,
Spoilers.
This will be very impressive or not so much. But I already promise, I do it now already.
Over-promise, under-deliver. That's my motto.
Yes, but it's always about the cliffhanger, the stuff you promise for later on. I will, of course, upload this to Behance because this is the favorite place for me to show my work. I will definitely upload it no matter how far I come with this today. And I hope then I will over-deliver with
you could live stream
50,000 more hours.
You could live stream straight from the device to Behance. Everyone who has a subscription can now stream to Behance and even monetize their streams if they choose subscription models, which, by the way, Adobe takes 0 cut if you are currently paying for an active subscription. So
very good.
That's great.
Thank you so much. Alisa is very kind in the chat. She says, I'm doing great, Melanie. Thank you so much for the reassuring words.
There you go.
There's so much on my list, I'm not so sure, but we have 4 things I wanted to show. One is now more or less much done. We have the perspective grid, where I added pretty much the main scribble of my illustration. What I'd like to show now, before we go into animation, is a quick overview on the fold brushes, which are pretty cool. And Tim, I actually hope we're going to do a live stream of that because
yes.
As you can see, there's all kinds of stuff in it you can imagine, starting from wonky brushes to power spatters. I would love to call them splatters, but you did say last time I should not do that.
That's a different kind of brush.
There's even an egg brush, and what I love the most for everyone who loves pencils and the pencils, there's a new concept pencil, which is pretty cool, and I can heavily recommend. It's a very nice addition to the pencil. That's great already. So have a look, check out the fold brushes. I think this was now 30 seconds and I'm done with that. Jumping over to, there's another one, of course, the vector brush. No, I almost forgot. Yes. Fresco can combine pixel and vector brushes. This is pretty much like a unicorn tool for anyone who likes to mix both. And there are 2 new ones here. It's the medium and the heavy jitter brush, which basically means your lines will look more, more organic, more real.
Yeah.
They will have a bit of haptics, which is pretty
character,
cool. Yes. So check those out. Today, I will just go with the regular brushes here, the pixel brushes, not going into the vector brushes, but who knows, maybe I'll be back with the vector brushes soon. Not today, though. That's also why I'm not going to show the cool thing of having vector illustrations sent immediately to Illustrator, but that's something we can also try on maybe another day. Let's see, how do we move forward now? Is it time to go into animation? Yes, of course it is.
Always time.
So let's have a really nice background now. There are 2 ways to animate in Fresco. So anyone who's been working with animation already knows that they're pretty much, let's get So juicy grid, we don't need you anymore now. There are two ways to animate. First of all, there is the frame by frame animation. The second thing is moving things along a path. Frame by frame, everyone knows it. You have various steps that imitate pretty much movement. So let's have a look how this works on a stream. Yes, the colors are pretty nice. Let's start maybe with a little dot that turns into a splatter. Now I can say it.
Yeah,
so
it's fine.
See what I did.
And we have just a quick question while you draw from Lisa on Behance. If you mix vector brushes and pixel, what will be the output format? Well, Lisa, there are different ways for you to output on Fresco. First of all, you could send it to Photoshop directly. Or, of course, you can export just a normal pixel image like a JPEG. You know? So at the end, when you export to social media, of course, you want pixel-based images. So that's absolutely possible. But if you would like to refine those vectors you drew, then you can absolutely bring it over to Photoshop on the desktop and continue your work just as normal. And of course, we shouldn't forget about the video export, which, you know, is crucial for exporting animation, which Melanie is about to do in a moment.
Yes, very true. I actually skipped a bunch of things I wanted to explain.
Sorry.
So first of all, yes. So we have the frames down here. That's pretty cool. And as you see, they move along. If you move just the timeline, you can play them immediately and they will move too. Something you can do in the settings, which are mainly related to the frame by frame animation, is you can of course say how many frames you want to have per second. This makes your whole animation a little faster or slower, depending on how many frames you want to draw. You have three options: to loop it, boomerang it, or play it once. Loop does it nicely now. The onion skin, one of my favorite things. This will show you, how your animation transfers from one screen to the other, so from one frame to the other. So it basically shows all frames with different levels of opacity, which is important for frame by frame animations, because then you know how to move and how the frame before looked. You can say how many you want. In my case, one is usually very sufficient, but 2 to 3 or up to, 10 you can have, which is pretty cool. In addition to that, you have a document timeline, which will, depending on if you combine multiple animations or little frame by frame animations, it will always show you the whole length of your animation that you have included already. And you can also have the setting show path as frames. So to save some time on this one here, let's have a look at something I prepared. Let's see if this is going to... Yep.
There's just a quick question in the Behance chat. Anybody knows the price of the premium version of Fresco? So there's a free version, which includes most of the features, apart from more storage space and all the brushes of Calty Webster. And there's a premium version. If you already own the subscription to Creative Cloud, I think, or Photoshop, you already have Fresco. And if you don't, then you have to get this extra one, which you can either go via the App Store. Then you will also get Photoshop as an app, or I think also via the Creative Cloud website. And because prices may be different per region, you should check this out on the Creative Cloud plans page to find out more. All right, back to you.
Okay, thank you so much. So what we have here is a splatter that's pretty much animated. The cool thing about it is you can have as many frames as you want, obviously, up to, not as you want. Now I know usually you would say it's just 36, it's 36, but you usually have, if you do a frame by frame animation, that should be fast enough and plenty of layers left. How do we do it now? Let's take the smaller one I created just now. The cool thing about this is you can combine frame by frame animations with paths. So if you draw a path animation, you can pretty much make your frame by frame animation move along a path. There are even more settings, all the effects here, and this looks pretty unimpressive, to be very honest now.
I wouldn't say that.
How far we can go with that later.
Fantastic.
But Tim, how much time do we have left? 5 minutes.
3
right?
minutes, mostly.
No, come on. Okay.
Sorry.
Well, to the effects panel, what can I say? You can have multiple ones. This is where it gets really fancy. You can scatter those, obviously, which means they will just be a little more crazy on the path you drew, or you can even randomize them, which will make them a little even more, how do you say it, more randomized? I will just say randomized. And then you can align them to, you can even align them to the path, which is pretty cool because I will switch it back.
And that wasn't shown on the keynote.
No, I think that was the most impressive thing I've seen here, because some of the animations I did looked a little rough at the beginning, but once you activate align to path and randomize it and really combine things, it's a lot of fun. Of course, as always, you can even add the easing or change the easing. You have uniform speed or original speed. Just give it a try. I think we have now 3 more minutes left. You can also adapt the frames. So that's pretty much it. Let me quickly show you what I prepared for this one. It's
wow. Okay.
Sorry.
That's really great.
I'm showing off.
Sorry, I'm just fanboying.
Yes.
I haven't seen this before, what Melanie made. So this is a genuine reaction.
I will make it a bit. Yes.
No actors.
Not sure if you would get an award for it, but you did very well. Thank you so much, Tim. That's what you see here is a combination of various animation options, mainly frame by frame. But as I mentioned before, what I would love to add here is, now it switched back. Let me quickly switch. We have the path aligned, the animation aligned to the path. Now that I say it, and I think there are so many cool things, and we're done. That's insane. The cool thing is you can obviously also make just the regular changes whenever you use Fresco, like for example clipping masks, which will then adapt to the little bubble, as Julia would call it, or the little illustrations you have here. In addition to that, you can use all the other tools like the adjustment layers. You have clipping masks, as I mentioned before. You can change opacity, blend modes, and anything, which will, of course, also work with animation.
So much more. We're running out of time so quickly, very quickly. Yes. How do you export?
There's the sharing and export thing. Publish and export.
And motion.
You open it, and then there is motion. You can pretty much pick whatever you fancy to pick. I love the GIF option here. This will make me a new person. I haven't started yet, but be ready for it. There will be tons of GIFs. And then you just generate frames and export it. Share it to anywhere you'd like to, and done.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm afraid that's all the time we have. Again, 25 minutes goes by so quickly because I do want to mention the schedule that's coming up. This is by far not the last stream of the day. We do have another one coming up after this one, which is Meet the Max Speaker. And this one is starting in about 6 minutes. And by the way, we do have more sessions coming up on Max. If you're watching on max.adobe.com, you will catch the sneaks at 6 German time or at 5 UK time. And also we will be back tomorrow. And if you want to see more of Melanie and her work, do tune in to Adobe Live. More streams. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. And Melanie, thank you for joining and showing.
Thank you, Tim. It was splendid as always.
Wonderful. Right. See you in a bit. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.